2 days. That's how long it takes. 2 days after I write the story, they appear. I never know where or when, but they always do. I had written about him, about the terrible thing that would happen, and now, here he was, standing right in front of me in the cereal aisle, completely unaware that he was a ghost from my journal. My name is Leo. I'm a journalist, or at least I try to be. My editor says I've lost my edge. He's not wrong. For months, I've been wrestling with a crippling writer's block. But every night, something else takes over. It's a different kind of writing. It's not for the newspaper. It's for me. Or from me. It happens late at night, in my small apartment, when the city is finally quiet. I'll sit at my computer, and my fingers just start moving. I don't choose the topic. I don't create the characters. The stories just flow out of me, and they're always about someone's misfortune. I call them my night files, little tales of bad luck, strange encounters, and tragic incidents. It used to feel like a way to get the darkness out of my head, but then I started noticing the pattern. The first time, I wrote about a man in a perfectly tailored suit. In my story, he was a lawyer on his way to a huge court case. But right before he entered the building, a painter on a ladder would accidentally drop a bucket of bright blue paint, ruining his suit and his confidence. A stupid, random bit of bad luck. I thought nothing of it. 2 days later, I was at the dry cleaners picking up my shirts. A man was at the counter, his voice full of frustration. He was holding up a jacket, and it was covered in dried, bright blue paint. "Can you believe this?" he said to the clerk. "Right before the biggest case of my career." My blood ran cold. It was him, the man from my story. It had to be a coincidence, a crazy 1 in a million coincidence. But then, it happened again. A week later, I wrote about a woman with a passion for baking. I described her in detail: curly red hair, glasses always perched on her nose. In my night file, she spent all week preparing a magnificent 3-tiered cake for a baking competition. But on the morning of the event, she would trip walking out her front door, and the cake would be destroyed. I felt a little sick writing it, but I couldn't stop. 2 days later, I was on the bus. A woman got on, and my breath caught in my throat. It was her. The curly red hair, the glasses. She sat down, pulled out her phone, and I saw her scrolling through pictures of a beautiful 3-tiered cake, her eyes full of sadness. That's when I knew. This wasn't a coincidence. My writing wasn't fiction. It was a premonition. A dark, unwelcome window into the lives of total strangers. I wasn't causing these things to happen. I was just the unlucky person who had to write them down first. It's a strange feeling, knowing something you shouldn't. It makes you question everything. Have you ever had a moment of déjà vu that was so strong it actually scared you? A feeling that you've lived a specific moment before it even happened? Tell me about it in the comments. I need to know I'm not the only one. The fear started to build. Who would I write about next? What tragedy would my fingers type out against my will? Last Tuesday, I found out. The writing that came out of me was the most disturbing yet. I called it the Elm Street encounter. It was about a bike courier. I wrote that he would be involved in a serious collision at the corner of Elm and 4th Avenue. I described his gear in vivid detail: a bright green helmet with a cartoon frog sticker on the side, a worn-out blue messenger bag. The story was graphic, filled with the sounds and sights of the incident. When I was done, I pushed my chair back, my hands shaking. For the next 2 days, I was a prisoner in my own mind. The corner of Elm and 4th is just a few blocks from my apartment. Every time I heard a siren, my stomach would clench.
I thought about printing out the story and taping it to every lamppost on Elm Street, a desperate warning to a man with a frog on his helmet. But what would I say? Excuse me, I'm a crazy journalist who writes futures and you're in danger? Today was the second day. I told myself to stay inside. If I didn't go out, I wouldn't see him. I wouldn't have to witness the aftermath of my own dark premonition. But I was out of coffee and milk, and my head was pounding. I convinced myself it would be fine. I would go to the grocery store a mile in the opposite direction of Elm Street. There was no way I would run into him there. I was in the dairy aisle, trying to decide between 2% and whole milk, when I heard his voice. "Excuse me," he said, "can you reach that one for me?" I turned, and everything went silent. It was him. He was wearing normal street clothes, no uniform, but on the top of his shopping cart, perched like a crown, was his helmet, bright green with a little cartoon frog sticker right on the side. He was real, and he was right here. My prophecy was about to come true. I wanted to scream, to tell him to go home, to lock his doors and not come out, but I was frozen, just staring at him. He gave me a weird look, grabbed his milk, and walked away towards the checkout. I stumbled out of the store, my heart hammering. What did it mean? Was the incident going to happen right outside the store? Did I lead him to his fate just by being here? I stood on the sidewalk, watching him unlock his bike. He put the groceries in his blue messenger bag, clipped on his frog helmet, and got on his bike. He was about to ride away, probably towards Elm Street, towards his destiny. My mind was racing. Then I remembered something from the story I wrote, a tiny detail I had almost forgotten. The incident happened at 4:30 p.m. I ripped my phone out of my pocket. It was 4:29 p.m. He waved a quick thank you to me and started to pedal out of the parking lot. He was heading east, towards Elm Street. I screamed, "Stop!" He hit the brakes, confused, turning back to look at me. "What's your problem, man?" "Just wait," I yelled, my voice cracking. "Just wait 2 minutes, please." He stared at me like I was insane, and in that moment, I felt insane. But he stayed put, straddling his bike, watching me with suspicion. The seconds ticked by on my phone's clock, 4:29. Then it happened, 4:30. Nothing. The street was calm. No screeching tires, no crash. The man on the bike just looked at me annoyed. 4:31. The world was still normal. I let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. Did I do it? Did I actually change the future? The courier shook his head, muttered "weirdo," and pedaled off down the street, safe and sound. I felt a wave of relief so powerful it almost brought me to my knees. Maybe I wasn't cursed. Maybe I was a guardian. I started the walk home feeling lighter than I had in months. It was over. I had broken the pattern. When I got back to my apartment, I unlocked the door and stepped inside. And then I stopped cold. The air was thick with the smell of burnt toast. My kitchen was filled with smoke. On the floor, next to a still smoldering toaster, was my landlord, Mr. Henderson. He was unconscious but breathing. The paramedics I called said the toaster had malfunctioned, a freak electrical surge. He would be okay. As they were wheeling him out, one of them turned to me. "Good thing you got here when you did. Another couple of minutes and this could have been a very different story." I nodded numbly, my eyes fixed on the kitchen counter. Next to the burnt-out toaster was the morning paper, folded open. The headline of the article I had written a week ago jumped out at me. A boring piece I barely remembered writing. "Faulty wiring and fire hazards. Are your old appliances a ticking bomb?" And I finally understood. The night files weren't a premonition of the future. They were a distraction. The real power, the real curse, wasn't in the fantasy I wrote at night. It was in the factual, boring articles I wrote for my job. The things I researched, the warnings I issued, those were the stories that came true. And the bike courier, the woman with the cake, the man with the paint, they weren't the subjects of my curse. They were the messengers sent to appear 2 days later, to keep me looking in the wrong direction, to keep me from realizing that my own words, published for the whole city to see, were the real weapon. And I had no idea who my next story was about.